All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And, ever since the days before XDefiant came out, it's been like a year plus since I started covering the game. And one of the things that I had mentioned time and time again on the channel in previous videos was that XDefiant wasn't just supposed to try to get the players to play the game, but to also keep them. And unfortunately, XDefiant only managed to do one of the two. It had a good amount of players within the first 4 to 6 weeks after launch. And then ever since then, it's been losing players, and it's been losing players to the point to where it seems as if Ubisoft is going to pull the plug after season 3. So we've got about 6 or 7 months until that happens, if the Tom Henderson Insider article is true. Now, so far, Mark Rubin has not responded to this. Last time Tom Henderson made an article about XDefiant, Mark was quickly responding to that, very quickly, actually, and basically made a few corrections here and there. But this time, that is not the case. But is it still possible that that article is wrong? Yes, but so far, everything points to the contrary, especially when you look at the player counts in terms of where XDefiant stands in terms of most games played on PlayStation and Xbox on those lists, okay? So we have to assume the worst, but hope for the best at this point. And ever since then, ever since the last 2 to 3 days or so, I've been wondering, what in the world can the game do? What in the world can the developers do? What can Ubisoft do? Like, what can be done in order to save the game, right? Or at least give it an extension so that way it has a fair chance to survive to where maybe it can pick itself back up, if indeed this is the case, which again, all evidence points to so far that yes, it seems to be the case. Now, thanks to you guys on stream and everything in the comment section, one of the things that I've been very, very pleased to see is that there are a lot of people out there within the XDefiant community that want nothing more than the game to survive. A lot of you guys are a lot like me, actually. A lot of you guys, like, this is the only multiplayer game that you guys play. You guys have tried to play other shooters. You guys have quit playing other shooters, be it for one or two or a whole bunch of different reasons. I'm sure a lot of those reasons kind of revolve around the algorithm, if you know what I mean. And, a lot of us have found a little bit of that joy back when playing XDefiant, right? And we don't want that taken away. And I will even go as far as to say, just like I've said on stream, that the game definitely deserves, at the very least, to have a shot, right? And it also deserves its own place within the arcade shooter genre in the way that it's doing it. And hopefully, if that ends up being the case, then there are chances out there for other games, not necessarily like XDefiant, but other games to come out that are also organic, right? Because right now a lot of games are plagued by the same sort of BS. So let's get into the main topic now that we've done this very long intro, because this video can easily be 30 minutes plus, but I'm going to try to not make it that long. So what in the world can be done to save XDefiant? Well, one of the things that I have thought of that I have mentioned in stream is that we all know that the XDefiant year 1 content is already pretty much finished, right? And they're starting to work on year 2, okay? So I would say, if this is the case where XDefiant, to where it's being threatened to shut down after season 3, if this is the case, then as soon as possible, right? As soon as possible, I think what the devs need to do is release all of the content that they've created. I'm talking about all the maps. I'm talking about all the weapons. I'm talking about all the camos, everything that they wanted to put in the store, like everything you can possibly think of, as well as the features that they are currently working on to be released in season 2, such as Bomb, the S&D mode, the leaderboards for that, leaderboards for ranked, the prestige mode for pubs, additional challenges, objective-based challenges, which Mark Rubin has already mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, that he's working on that as well. And a lot of players have actually mentioned that as well. A lot of players really want to see that. There's been a good amount of people on my stream that said that they are all for that. And all these features that we've been talking about that they are going to be working on, that I've mentioned in previous videos, as well as a netcode, which Mark Rubin himself has also mentioned that in the beginning of season 2, we are going to be feeling that significant difference in the netcode, right? So you put all these things together, right? And if those things actually happen, and if all the year 1 content were to get released in the middle of season 2 somewhere, right? Or in the beginning of season 3, what that's going to do is it's going to create a lot of attention for the game because, quite frankly, as far as seasonal content is concerned, there's been no other game, at least to my knowledge, right, in a free-to-play game with, you know, the seasonal content that it is, a live service game or whatever you want to call it, that's released that much content, right, all in one shot just like that. You're talking about like a lot of content and features, right? Which obviously a lot of the features should have been in there at launch, right? Like giving the players things to do, reasons to come back and play, the whole leveling up, the prestiging, you know, unlocking things, you know, objective-based gameplay, fixing the combat record, all that stuff. Like all these features should have been in there from the start, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So I would say better late than never, and desperate times call for desperate measures. If XDefiant really is in that desperate state and needs to make that desperate step come to fruition. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to draw attention. There are people like IGN or GameSpot or some of these other guys that are going to be making articles about this. Like XDefiant just absolutely dropped a bombshell of content. We're talking like, what are we talking? Like an additional 9 maps, an additional 9 weapons, all these different features and all that kind of stuff completely dropped. A whole bunch of weapon camos and stuff like that. All of that has been completely dropped, and everybody's got this to play now. So there's a lot of stuff to do. They're also going to be cycling game modes and all that stuff. Additional factions, obviously, so we can have more to play with in the factions, and then challenges within the factions. And I would say that that would be a pretty healthy shot in the arm, and the game itself would get a lot of exposure, not just from the YouTube scene and the content creation stream and the streaming scene, but also from, again, a lot of these news articles or whatnot, and people are going to turn their heads. And what XDefiant really needs is attention. And the more that people become aware of this, the better. Now, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what it needs to do, because there's an old saying, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard: money talks and bullshit walks. So basically what we need is we need to actually, believe it or not, the game, to my knowledge, unless it's got that high of a player count, the game needs to have a decent amount of people buying stuff from the store, whether it's the battle pass, whether it's a combination of the battle pass and the stuff that they have in store. And the first thing that comes to mind is whenever a business is getting ready to go out of business, what do? They have a major discount, right, going on, right? And I would say that there need to be also major discounts going around in the store, because a lot of things, I think we can all admit, they're very much overpriced. And to top it all off, what they also need to do is have community events. So you're talking about things in the store at a discounted price. You're also talking about community events, like for instance, let's say that the time comes where they release Prestige. Well, why can't you have a race to max Prestige from 1 to 10, let's say it's from 1 to 10, not just on the first time that this happens, but how about every single month? How about you have a new community event every single month, or better yet, every bi-weekly, or better, how about this? How about every weekend? Back during the days of Call of Duty Ghosts, when Clan Wars was introduced, Clan Wars used to take place on weekends, and I believe it happened at least once or twice a month, if I'm not mistaken, or it could have happened every weekend. I don't remember. This was back 10 years ago. I don't remember clearly, unfortunately. But on a regular basis, they had the Clan Wars, and it was something that a lot of people partook in. So if you're taking something like a Prestige or some sort of other community event, which I'm sure XDefiant is very smart enough to invent such a thing, right? Have different community events going on with different bonuses and prizes for the people that win, right? Whether it's a little something from the store, or whether it's very specific types of camos for their weapons, or calling cards, or backgrounds and stuff like that. Like, all those things matter, right? Some people think that it doesn't matter all that much. Well, guess what? If you're going to worry about, if you want the big things to matter, you got to want those little things to matter, right? Like, for instance, if you want to appreciate being a millionaire, you got to appreciate the value of $1, right? It all starts from somewhere. So I would say for them to start small like this and do small community events and eventually build up into big community events around the game itself, and in terms of what the content that entails inside the game, as well as all the different features, guess what? And then on top of that, if you have things that are actually worth the price of the store, I bet you that there would be a significant more amount of a percentage of your player base that would consider buying something from the store. Because nobody, a lot of people are not going to spend. I mean, let's forget about the Call of Duty thing real quick, okay? let Call of Duty do what it does. It's had the player base and the numbers for so long, and it doesn't matter if it's Warzone, it doesn't matter if it's COD Mobile, it doesn't matter if it's the multiplayer, zombies, or whatever. It's all under the same boat, so to speak, right? It's all under the same tent. It's all within the same thing of itself, so it doesn't matter. So it's like 4 games to 1 here, okay? Plus it's got years and years of building, right, of the community, right? So that, like, they're going to get away with selling, people will buy $30 bundles. I mean, I don't know why, but they do, but whatever. With XDefiant, since it's not where Call of Duty is, not by a long shot in terms of the amount of people playing it for a multitude of different reasons, it needs to start out smaller. It can't just put things in the store that are worth $20 or $30. I mean, remember when Halo does this? Like, people, even in the Halo community, which is larger than a community of XDefiant, even though the Halo community used to be a lot larger than what it is now, I think one of the things that kind of turned off a lot of the players in the Halo community is simply because of the fact that, like, when they started doing things like the store, or when they started doing like overpricing things or whatnot, and of course there's a multitude of things that Halo did wrong, unfortunately, but you guys get it. Like there's a lot of people out there, a significant number of people. Like, if they see a battle pass, they run the other direction, or if they see the store and with overpriced items, they run in the other direction, stuff like that, right? Now let me give you another example here of what XDefiant can do. Now, in 2017, there was a beautiful multiplayer shooter that came out that wasn't received very well by myself, admittingly, at the beginning, but then later on I grew to love it, and that is Call of Duty World War II. Now, Call of Duty World War II is still played to this day. There's still a significant amount of players playing it to this day, and if you were to hop into a team deathmatch right now, for instance, at any point in time of the day, you will find a match within 10 seconds, easily, right? Now, the thing about Call of Duty World War II and why a lot of people still play that game is because it has a lot, and I mean a lot of content for the people to play towards. And we're not just talking about prestige level 1000. We're talking about unlocking weapons and weapon variants up the wazoo. And they're not pay to win either. They're cosmetic, right? Some of the weapons have different, different looking iron sights, which is perfectly fine, as well as the way the weapons look themselves. And you can grind these weapons to get them, right? It's not all just about buying it, right? You don't have to. You can grind the living hell out of the game and get them. I mean, it's a hell of a grind, but people are still grinding the game to this day. They really are. And I think that is a significant reason as to why they are doing that. Because when you look at other games out there, right, such as other Call of Duty titles, I mean, hell, even Black Ops 4 has a decent amount of players still playing it today, right? Even though that came out in 2018. Now, why is that? Because after Call of Duty Black Ops 4's its yearly cycle was done, Treyarch decided to where they can release the fact that you can buy any weapon. I mean, you can grind to unlock anything in the blacksmith, which was something you couldn't do previously. You had to at least wait for an event to happen to where you could, and then you were only limited to one of your choice, or you had to dish out money or something of that nature, right? It wasn't the way that it was after the life cycle was over, right? So they basically pulled a Sledgehammer Games in Call of Duty World War II and basically released all the content to where you didn't have to buy to grind. It was just, you just had to grind, and that's it, right? After that game's life cycle was over. So when you look at examples like that, and when you look at it, like, as far as reasons as to why players can play or why they still continue to play to this day, well, there you go right there. The game needs content as well, right? Okay. Now, in the maps department, we're doing okay. I mean, granted, in the linear maps, you don't have that many to play. In the arena maps, you do, but again, they have to kind of share the space because the game modes are, and maps are built for specific game modes in terms of arena versus the linear. But you guys get the point here, right? When you're looking at content, you're talking about ways to level up weapons, ways to unlock variants and stuff like that. And they have to be ways that are not just limited to the battle pass. Okay. Like, obviously having the battle pass is great. And by the way, I think they need to make the battle pass a little bit more, how do I put this? More potent, right? And I'm not necessarily suggesting they go from like 90 tiers to 180. I mean, they can do that, but what they also need to do is make it to where there are a good amount of really nice stuff in the battle passes. We're not just talking about, the 2 or 3 weapons that you get to unlock, which everybody gets to unlock for free, regardless of whether or not they bought the battle pass. But we're talking like really cool skins. We're talking about really cool animations, backgrounds for your main menu page that you can have customizable for yourself, additional calling cards and stuff like that. I mean, seriously, they can go up the wazoo. And in stream, I mentioned this. I'm not the only one who could think of stuff like this, especially since I don't work for this sort of thing, but my imagination roamed wild during stream, and I'm like, hey, what if they were to do certain voice packs? They have access to every single Ubisoft IP. Mark Rubin himself had said that, right? So you're talking about all the different games and franchises and stuff that Ubisoft has sold over the years, right? They have access to all of that, right? So what makes you think, like, if they were to do a Sam Fisher, right, the original Splinter Cell, voiced by Michael Ironside himself, if they were to do a Sam Fisher voice pack or announcer pack, right, for the Echelon, guess what? And if you priced it reasonably, don't you think that there are hardcore Splinter Cell fans that play XDefiant that won't buy that shit? Right? And you don't really just have to limit it. You don't really just have to go out there and buy, because Ubisoft's not going to dish out too much more money anyway, especially since they're looking to get paid, right? So what I'm saying is, with all these different IPs, the voice of Ezio, from Assassin's Creed 2, for instance, and some of these other different big franchises under the Ubisoft umbrella, right? Are you telling me that they won't do something like that? I mean, or that they shouldn't, or that they can't? I mean, they've got a lot of different IPs up their sleeve, and they can literally do like voice packs, they can do skins, they can do themes, they can do special camos for weapons and stuff like that. Like, there are fans, like really big fans of Splinter Cell or Assassin's Creed and stuff like that. You can make some killer ass skins for all sorts of different variant weapon variants, and you can put some of them in the store, and you can make some of them grindable. And if some of them look really good, which are, by the way, cosmetic, okay, they're not pay to win, but if they look really good, and if it's for a reasonable price, I can almost guarantee you that a lot of fans for that will get it, especially since it has value, right? It has value within the game because it's a weapon variant that you can use, right? It's something that you can constantly look at because it's in your gun. It's right there in front of you. So that has a certain type of value to it, right? Especially since XDefiant is what's it called, is a game that looks to is supposed to be supported for years, right? At least that's the goal. So if your stuff that you buy doesn't go away, or even if it, and again, this is just the tip of the iceberg, man, and I think a lot of fans are also fans of party games. Why not have party games similar to how it used to be in Black Ops 1? Now, I know a lot of people will say that that's quote unquote gambling or whatnot, but I mean, they got away with it in Black Ops 1. Why can't they do something similar, but yet lighter for XDefiant? You know what I mean? What if somebody wanted to, or give people the chance to kind of, I don't know. I mean, put something on there. Like, I don't want to say X coins, but I don't know. You can have like it's your own sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe they can make a separate currency system that is strictly for only, like, let's say, stuff that's in game, right? You create it from playing the game, you get it from playing the game, and therefore it only counts for stuff that you can get in game, not for the store, right? So that way you can separate real money from in-game currency, right? I think a lot of players would just absolutely love that. I mean, imagine having some sort of community challenge to where you could be the richest in-game currency player, right? Like the first person to reach 1 million currency or something like that, right? I mean, even that would be great for content as well. I mean, there's so many things you can do, and these are the combination of things that I believe can save the game, because ultimately this is a free-to-play game. It needs a shot in the arm right now in terms of content, which would be very impressive, and it would get a lot of attention. And at the same time, the game needs to make money. I cannot, there's no two ways around it. For a free-to-play game, especially that doesn't have the kind of player count that Fortnite has, or that Apex Legends has, or a Call of Duty Warzone has, or just Call of Duty in general, like it needs the kind of player count support. And for the people that are interested in getting stuff from the store, it needs that as well. However, it needs to be worth something. It can't just be, overpriced with $30. That's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? So those are pretty much my thoughts, and I'm a person that doesn't really get anything from the store. And I bought, the battle pass, the first battle pass, and I ended up getting enough coins, and I ended up getting the second battle pass because I had enough coins. But I mean, if they had stuff in the store that I was interested in, like if there were only a couple of weapon variants that had like really cool iron sights, for instance, and looked really cool, and if they were reasonably priced to show support for the game, I would have absolutely no problem getting them. And you guys know me, I don't even use regular camos on my guns, despite the fact that I've gotten them already. I don't care. I just enjoy unlocking stuff, or just, you know, playing the game, or just whatever, leveling up, whatever, right? But if there was something like that in the store, and if the game really could use some financial support, I don't mind dishing things out, especially knowing that the devs will support the community, which is one of the reasons why I never really got anything from COD. I never bought anything from the Call of Duty store or whatnot, because we know that, you know, the higher ups, you know, for that franchise are not very community friendly now, are they? Right? They just want your money and that's it. But at the end of the day, you get crickets whenever you make a request. XDefiant and its devs are not like that. Now, unfortunately, though, one of the things that you guys have warned me is Ubisoft, and I totally get it. I totally get it. Some of you guys just don't want to support Ubisoft. I get it. I really get it. But at the end of the day, if it keeps the devs, if it keeps the devs going, like the right devs and the right people in charge and stuff like that, and if we're looking at progress in the game, and if it helps, you know, if it makes the game survive, then, you know, then I would say it's worth it. Again, as long as it's worth something and not overpriced. Like, you know, I would never, you know, I myself, you know, despite the fact, you know, I myself would not spend, you know, $30 in the store for something, you know what I mean? Even if it was a weapon variant, that's still steep. You know, make them like, I don't know, like $9 or something like that. You know what I mean? And some good camos and calling cards or something like that to go with it, or some shit like that. Like, make it reasonably priced. You're not doing too good in the store. Start putting stuff on discount and start putting more stuff into the store and make it reasonably priced, along with everything else that was mentioned here. And if there's anything you guys want to add into this, please, by all means, add it in. This game could use all the help it could get, especially if the Tom Henderson article is true. And hopefully, maybe we'll get some sort of response of some kind in the near future by Mark Rubin or some other means. But so far, we have to, again, assume the worst and hope for the best, and at least try ahead of time to figure out what we could do to prevent the shutdown of XDefiant, because this game already means a lot to myself. It means a lot to other players as well. Okay, and this is not just rooted around content creation. It goes further than that. I enjoy playing this game. I enjoy the fact that it's an organic experience. I like the gunplay. I can't wait for everything to feel even better, to where it will play even better. I can't wait to see even more maps and more weapons, and get, you know, more weapons to get addicted to, other than just the M16 or whatnot. So again, it's things like this that I look forward to. It's you know, content creation is just a cherry on top, man. But the cake itself is the game itself. And I don't want this game to go away. And I know a lot of you don't either. So anyway, with that being said, guys, this video is definitely run long enough. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Thank you all very much for the support on and off stream. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.